Hi everyone, it's Amy here. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. So today I have a recommendation video for you. I'm going to be recommending dark fiction. So I really like dark fiction, not horror, not a fan of horror at all. I'm even a little bit dubious on thrillers, but I do love a book that has a slightly darker undertone, something that just makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. You're kind of questioning like the narrator, you're questioning what's quite going on. It just seems that there's something disturbing happening under the surface. So I have 7 books to share with you. Let's jump in. So the first book I have here is My Absolute Darling by Gabrielle Tallant. This one follows the story of a 14-year-old girl named Turtle who lives basically in the wilderness with her father. What I would say with all of these books is definitely go and read the content warnings if you are someone who is triggered by things, because there's a lot of dark, disturbing things that happens in these books that I'm recommending. So we've got Turtle and her father living in the wilderness, and Turtle as a character is just brilliant. She's the kind of character that I really enjoy reading through. She very much reminds me of the main character from Where the Crawdads Sings. A little bit feral, someone who's clearly had to fend for themselves and learn how to defend themselves, learn how to live off of the land. There's a lot of nature-based things throughout this book. Like Turtle really knows the land that she lives in, and I really love that. I don't really want to spoil what makes this book particularly dark, but I will read the little snippet down here that says, sometimes the people you're supposed to trust are the ones that do the most harm. It's dark, it's brutal, but it's just the most stunning book. I remember being blown away by the writing, thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely one I'm thinking of rereading again in the next few years, so would highly recommend. Next up we have The Butcher's Hook by Jeanette Ellis. So this one is set in 1763, Georgian London, and we follow a 19-year-old girl named Anne. She lives with her family and they don't really care for her all that much. They're basically trying to marry her off to a wealthy gentleman, but Anne has her heart set on the local butcher's son, and she is willing to do anything to make sure that that relationship happens. So there we go, butcher's hooks in the situation. It's quite dark, it's quite brutal, a little bit gory, one of those ones where you kind of think you know what's going on and then suddenly you're like, wow, okay, we're here, what on earth. Definitely a very gripping one that I thoroughly enjoyed. Next we have The Furies by Katie Lowe. I read this one recently and thoroughly enjoyed it. It basically follows the story of a girl who moves to an all-girls boarding school. And when she gets there, she's kind of taken in by the somewhat cool outcast kids who are also part of this kind of elitist art group with the art teacher who is also kind of cool. Definitely The Secret History by Donna Tartt vibes, so if you enjoy that book, you may like this one as well because it's basically the same but with a cast of female characters instead. At the very beginning of the book, you learn that a young girl has been found dead, posed on a swing in very bizarre circumstances, and so it's a murder mystery, it's got a lot of dark things going on. Definitely one that has a lot of twists and turns, and one that you kind of question the reliability of the narrator because you kind of don't 100% know whether she knows what's going on either. Really, really good. It was a real page turner for me. I got through it really quickly, absolutely loved it, would definitely recommend. Next we're going to go to a bit of a modern classic, and that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This is one of my all-time favourite books. It's really short, but it really packs the punch. We follow the story of a young girl named Merricat and her sister Constance, and you learn at the very beginning of the book that Constance has just been acquitted for murdering the rest of their family. These two sisters live in this huge manor house with just their uncle Julian to keep them company. He is the only person that managed to survive the murdering of the rest of the family. Again, this is another one with a very unreliable narrator. You just don't 100% know whether you can believe what is going on and what she's saying. It's got real dark kind of gothic vibes to it, and I just love all the way through all these little kind of clues and tidbits as you go along as to what really is happening. It's a very clever book and my favourite from Shirley Jackson. The two sisters are brilliant and a little bit creepy. If you've not read a Shirley Jackson book before, this is the one you need to go for. This is 100% her best book. Next we have another recent read for me, and that is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This one follows the story of a young girl named Vanessa who is groomed by her 40-something-year-old teacher when she was only only 15. We flick between the time period where she is being groomed by him to then present day, where other girls have started to report and speak out against this teacher for doing the same thing with them. The thing is, Vanessa believes that she was completely consensual and that she was completely in love with him, and that there was no issue with the relationship that they had and still have in present day. Obviously, as time goes on and as more information comes out, she begins to question what her understanding of that relationship was. It's brutal, it's extremely dark, very disturbing. Reading this in first person, you are Vanessa. You embody her, you have all of her thoughts, her feelings, her actions, everything. It feels incredibly real and quite scary, and it is one that I wanted to read because I knew how important it was, but whilst reading it, I really didn't like the experience that I was going through, but knew how important it was, if that makes sense. The writing is incredible. I wanted to spend more time with those words. However, I wanted to get through the book as quickly as I could because how hard it was. It's heavily influenced by Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita. So if you've read that book, then this book has a lot of parallels, and the book Lolita is actually mentioned a lot in this story. Brilliant, but very hard to read. Next we have The Book Collector by Alice Thompson. So this book is set in Edwardian England, and it follows our main character Violet, who is a young woman that marries a widowed man. He's a little bit older, he's quite wealthy, and they have a child together. So everything was happy until that point, and after having the child, things go a little bit downhill. So she becomes quite obsessed with a book of fairy tales that her husband keeps locked away in a safe in their basement. She starts getting very paranoid, having hallucinations, questioning everything that is going on around her, and at the same time women start going missing from a local asylum. This is another one with a slightly unreliable narrator. You're kind of questioning her sanity, what is going on around her, is everything in her imagination, is it actually happening, is she being made to believe that she's actually crazy when she's not. Very gritty, very dark, and I love the way that fairy tales are brought into the story as well, kind of weaved in throughout. Probably one of the slightly darker ones on this list, but equally brilliant. Would definitely recommend. And the final book I have to show you is The Water Cure by Sophie Mackintosh. So this book follows the story of a family that have secluded themselves away from society. The mother and father have 3 daughters, and they've basically convinced these daughters that the outside world is contaminated, that men are very dangerous, and that no one should come near them, and they have to stay in this place that their family has kind of cordoned off. At the very beginning of the book, we learn that the father has passed away, and so it is just the mother and the 3 daughters, and we read through the perspective of these daughters. As the book progresses, we are shown more of the kind of disturbing things that the mother is doing with these girls on this island. She is basically giving them these like treatments to make them good, to make them healthy, to kind of purify their souls and things, but these treatments are quite weird and disturbing. What then throws everything out of kilter is the arrival of 3 men on the island. They get washed up, and so the women, the mother and the daughters, have to interact and deal with these men. One thing I really loved about this book was the idea of a created existence. So the parents very much sculpted these girls into what they wanted them to be, basically brainwashed them into having these very bizarre thoughts about the world, men and everything. And it's just that idea of, you know, as a parent, you have that control. You are the ones that talk to your child, that give them information about the world and teach them everything. And so seeing that in this book was a very visceral depiction of the damaging things that parents can do to their children, and it was brilliant. I've actually ordered another book from this author, so I cannot wait to read more from her. So there we are, those are all the books that I have to recommend to you today. Have you read any of these? What did you think of them? Do you like reading dark fiction? Give me some recommendations down below. I would love to hear from you. As always, I will leave links to everything I've mentioned today down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I will see you soon. Bye!